The proposed economic deal between the United States and Ukraine has stalled. This ambitious agreement, aimed at granting the U.S. access to Ukraine's rare earth mineral reserves, has become a source of tension. The heart of the disagreement lies in the differing priorities of U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. The deal's framework, drafted by U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent, proposed significant U.S. investment in Ukraine's mineral extraction industry. In return, American companies would gain access to these crucial resources. The deal included provisions for an investment fund dedicated to rebuilding Ukraine's war-torn infrastructure. However, the lack of explicit security guarantees for Ukraine has emerged as a major stumbling block. Zelenskyy sees the economic partnership as intrinsically linked to stronger security commitments from the U.S. He remains wary of Russia's willingness to uphold any peace agreement and views concrete security assurances as a prerequisite for further economic cooperation. The March 2nd meeting between the two leaders in the Oval Office, intended as a celebratory signing ceremony, instead devolved into a public disagreement. The meeting's collapse resulted in the cancellation of the signing and a shortened visit for Zelenskyy, highlighting the deep divisions surrounding the proposed deal. Zelenskyy's insistence on security guarantees stems from Ukraine's precarious geopolitical reality. The ongoing conflict with Russia, fueled by Moscow's 2022 invasion, has left Ukraine vulnerable. Zelenskyy views any economic partnership, particularly one involving critical resources, through the lens of national security. He argues that allowing U.S. companies access to Ukraine's mineral wealth without ironclad security assurances could embolden further Russian aggression. Zelenskyy fears that economic engagement without a parallel commitment to Ukraine's defense would leave his country exposed. Zelenskyy has publicly stated his desire for a formal security pact, ideally under the NATO umbrella. However, with Trump's known opposition to Ukraine joining NATO, Zelenskyy has sought alternative security arrangements. These include direct military support from the U.S. and a commitment to defend Ukraine in case of future Russian hostility. The Ukrainian president's stance reflects a deep-seated mistrust of Russia's intentions and a belief that economic prosperity hinges on a secure and stable Ukraine. For Zelenskyy, the stalled deal represents a missed opportunity to solidify Ukraine's security while bolstering its economic recovery. Trump's approach to the U.S.-Ukraine relationship centers on economic pragmatism and a desire for a swift resolution to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. He sees the proposed economic deal as a win-win, providing the U.S. with critical resources while boosting Ukraine's post-war recovery. Trump has repeatedly downplayed the need for explicit security guarantees to Ukraine. He argues that a robust U.S. economic presence, particularly in the strategically important mineral sector, would act as a deterrent against future Russian aggression. In essence, Trump believes that economic interdependence creates its own security framework. Furthermore, Trump has made it clear that he sees a quick end to the Russia-Ukraine war as paramount. He views the economic deal as a stepping stone towards a broader peace agreement, believing that economic cooperation can pave the way for political reconciliation. Trump has also expressed his preference for a European-led security arrangement for Ukraine, suggesting that NATO involvement is unnecessary. Trump's critics argue that his approach prioritizes short-term economic gains over long-term strategic considerations. They contend that his reluctance to provide concrete security assurances undermines Ukraine's security and emboldens Russia. The public breakdown of the U.S.-Ukraine economic deal has reverberated across the international community. European allies, particularly France and the UK, are watching closely as they consider their own commitments to Ukraine's security. Both countries have signaled a willingness to contribute to a peacekeeping force in a post-war Ukraine. However, UK Prime Minister Starmer has emphasized that any meaningful security guarantee for Ukraine requires US participation. The lack of a united front among Western allies, underscored by the Trump-Zelenskyy rift, risks sending a message of disunity to Moscow. The stalled deal also raises questions about the US's global leadership. Critics argue that Trump's handling of the situation, particularly the public nature of the disagreement with Zelenskyy, projects an image of American unreliability and weakens its standing on the world stage. Moving forward, the path to a resolution remains unclear. The onus lies on both sides to bridge the trust deficit and find common ground. Whether the economic deal can be salvaged and what form it might take will depend on the willingness of both leaders to compromise on their core priorities. The stakes are high, with implications for regional security, the global balance of power, and the future of US-Ukraine relations.